Now we're going to revise chapter 3, describe support facilities for travel and tourism. First of all, we're going to talk about the infrastructure. What is the concept of infrastructure? Infrastructure, it refers to features of built environment that are required in order to serve what? The development and operational needs of a community. This includes basic facilities, such as services and installations. Also utilities like power supplies, water, sewage, etc. Also roads, telecommunications, education, and health facilities. Now, in terms of travel and tourism, infrastructure means the provision of transport facilities, including airports, seaports, and railway networks. The majority of the most important infrastructure development in any country is publicly funded. This means that the government of the country, they invest large sums of money to provide the necessary infrastructure for travel and tourism, or in general. When the destination begins to develop, private organizations, they start to get encouraged to invest in developing the infrastructure. And this includes building of hotels, tourist attractions, and other facilities that the tourists are interested in and need. Once the infrastructure in any destination is developed, it is better able to support a wide range of tourism activities. Of course, the destinations will benefit from the foreign exchange earnings that tourists spend within this destination. Now, the extent of infrastructure development, of course, it is greater in the MEDCs, in the more economically developed countries, than the lower economically developed countries. Because the investment in infrastructure development, it reflects or shows the strength of a country's economy. And the economy in the MEDCs is definitely stronger than the LEDCs countries. Okay, what are the type and range of accommodation available? Now, tourists need transport infrastructure. Why? They want to gain access to a destination. Tourists also require accommodation because they need to stay in that destination. So where are they going to stay? Hotels and other forms of short-term accommodation are described as being the superstructure of tourism. It means the physical facilities and services specific to tourism development. Now, the construction of new hotels, it can contribute to the infrastructure of a destination, definitely. Okay, and having good supply of hotel beds can determine the success of a destination on an international scale. Now, the word accommodation, it is given to any establishment providing overnight lodging for a traveler in a room. Types of accommodation, they're different, from international 5-star luxury hotels to a small guest house. There are also different types of accommodation to cater to different types of travelers. All accommodation, they're either serviced or self-catering. Now, if the accommodation is serviced, it means that the price you pay includes the meals and cleaning of the room. If it is self-catering, it means that the meals are not provided, but cooking facilities are available for guests' use. Accommodation can also be targeted towards the luxury market, where the customers are happy to pay, of course, a premium price for the quality of the products and services offered. Other forms of accommodation, they cater to the specific needs of the budget traveler market, where customers tend to look towards value for money alongside more basic facilities. Now, the main types of accommodation, we have hotel, guest house, hostel, and camping site. The first type of accommodation is hotels. Now, hotels are one of the most common forms of serviced accommodation. Some hotels are small and privately owned establishments with a small number of rooms and limited range of facilities. And other parts or other hotels are international hotel chain with hundreds of rooms and broad product service mix, including business and leisure facilities. And so, as we said, there are hotels that are small and privately owned establishments, and there are international hotel chain that has hundreds of rooms and a broad product service mix, including business and leisure facilities, and a choice of restaurants, coffee lounges, and bars. Now, services at large international hotels tend to be formal. It's really different than when you are in a smaller family-run hotel. So services at large international hotels are formal. Whereas services at a smaller family-run hotel, they're more friendly and more relaxed. Number two, the second type of accommodation is guest house. It's also known as boarding house or B&B or pension. A guest house is usually small, owner-managed establishment, and they offer serviced accommodation. Facilities, of course, in a guest house is limited. They are limited and cost less than staying in a typical hotel. The service here in a guest house is personal and friendly too. The third type of accommodation is the hostel. Hostels, they're cheap. They're inexpensive accommodation. They also offer the option of serviced or self-catering facilities. Hostels, they target groups of travelers, like school groups or independent travelers. They are looking for budget accommodation. They offer dormitory style accommodation, as well as private rooms that can be privately owned, or it could be a part of a public sector. The last type of accommodation we have here is the camping site. Now, camping sites are places used for overnight stays in the outdoors. Campers could pitch their own tent or rent a ready pitched tent. And also they can use other amenities on the site. Many campsites also accommodate motorhomes and caravans. There are also international camping sites. And when they are international camping sites, they are more like holiday centers with a wide range of facilities, including a small shop, restaurants, and cafes, a leisure complex with play areas and swimming pools, a TV lounge, laundry facilities. So this campsite, when it's international, it's more likely a holiday center that has lots of facilities, as we mentioned before. Next, we're going to go to the next point, which is economies of operation and scale investment. The accommodation sector, we have to know that it's dominated by commercial enterprises like hotels and motels, guest house, farmhouses, and B&Bs, and so on. Many accommodation providers are small and independent establishments, which are privately owned hotel or guest house. Also, there are few large international hotel chains and resort owners, which we can call the branded multiples. This is where a hotel group uses the same hotel model across every key tourism destination, and they offer familiar accommodation environment for customers with guaranteed quality and standards. It is really difficult to estimate the exact scale of the accommodation sector. Now, what happens here? National tourist authorities, they produce statistics about the number of bed spaces for specific destinations, which indicate the demand for tourist accommodation. Is it matched by supply or not? But the survey data of this nature does not always accurately confirm the scale of this industry sector. Also, it's very difficult to estimate the extent of investment in the accommodation sector, because there is a huge variety of accommodation providers worldwide. Now, availability of quality, value of money, accommodation is the key component in destination choice. The quality you're looking for, quality of service you're looking for and products, and the value of money you're going to pay. Now here, it shows the accommodation that it is the key component for your choice to a certain destination. When it comes to investment in accommodation development, it is primarily through private investment. However, destination managers, they can assist also in attracting investment for a destination. Okay, so investment in accommodation development, definitely it is a private investment. And destination managers, they can also help and assist in attracting investment for a certain destination. What about the measures of efficient operation? There's a popularity of different types of accommodation, and they can be measured in a number of different ways. To have an efficient operation, what are the measures that show that the operation is efficient? We have two things here: occupancy rate and classification and grading. Occupancy rate is the number of beds or rooms that have been occupied against the number of beds or rooms available. Okay, so if I have 500 beds available, how many are occupied per year, for example? We'll say 420 out of 500. Okay, over a given period of time, which is per year, for example. Usually they measure it on a yearly basis, and then they present it as a percentage. For example, we have Singapore had an occupancy rate of 75.8% in 2009. It exceeded 75%, which means more than 3/4 of the available hotel accommodations were occupied during that year. Another example, occupancy rates in Dubai fell dramatically early in 2010 to below 50%. But luckily, it rose to 80% by the end of the year of 2010. Back to occupancy rate, it is calculated from the internal records of individual hotels. We know already that there are records in each accommodation, in a hotel, in a guest house. Okay, so all the occupancy rates, they're calculated from the internal records of individual hotels. These are reported to national tourism authorities. They have to allow statistical analysis of numbers of tourists against destination carrying capacity. They need to know if there is a balance between the number of tourists that visits per year and the destination carrying capacity. That's to say the number of actual visitors measured against the number of visitors that a destination can accommodate at any one time. The second thing in measures of efficient operation is classification and grading. Now, tourists often want to know what to expect from the accommodation they book. In order to help the tourists to choose the accommodation appropriate to their specific requirements, many types of accommodation adopted a classification, or what we call grading scheme. These schemes are based on strict criteria. Okay, there's a strict criteria relating to the quality of facilities offered in the hotel and the quality of the customer service provided in the hotel. So, again, many types of accommodation, they have adopted classification or grading scheme. Now, these schemes are based on strict criteria. What is it related to? It's related to the quality of facilities offered and quality of the customer service provided. There is no international hotel classification scheme, but many countries have their own classification system in place. National tourist boards or government departments are often involved. What do? They start inspecting accommodation and classifying the accommodation accordingly. The most common classification scheme, which has some international recognition, of course, is the hotel star rating scheme. For example, each hotel is visited by a team of inspectors and assessed against predetermined grading criteria. Hotels are usually given a rating from 1 star to 5 stars. The more the stars, of course, the higher the quality and the greater the range of facilities and level of services provided. Definitely, 1-star hotel is way different than a 5-star hotel. Of course, as the demand for tourism experiences becomes more and more, we started seeing the 6-star or 7-star hotels. And this means that these hotels surpass the level of luxury in a typical 5-star luxury hotel. Some countries like United Kingdom adopted a grading scheme for guest house provision. They use the diamond symbol, not the stars. Then we're going to move to the facilities provided for business and leisure tourists. Travel and tourism providers, they try to cater to specific needs and expectations of their customers. Definitely. The travel and tourism providers, they have to know what the customers want, what kind of products and services they're seeking or they're looking for. Therefore, accommodation providers develop specific products and services targeted to their two main visitor segments: business travelers and leisure tourists. When it comes to business tourism market, it is really strong because many hotels, they offer conference and meeting facilities. They also offer a venue equipped with all the modern technology required to stage a business meeting. Catering services available to provide refreshments, and business centers. Business centers are there for photocopying, printing, and fax services. Okay, so the hotels, they are aware of the things that they need to develop and improve for business travelers. When it comes to leisure tourists, it's a bit more difficult to predict. Many hotels now provide leisure and spa clubs. They're trying to entice more customers and attract them. Many hotels also included a wider range of in-room products and services, like MP3 players, in-room entertainment via cable or satellite TV. These are the things that the hotels are trying to do for the leisure tourists. Local public transport provision. Public transport facilities is a very essential part of the support facilities offered to tourists in any destination. Okay? It has to have, the destination has to have an effective public transport system. And this improves the accessibility of any destination, and it meets the needs of domestic plus international visitors. Now, local transport is important for residents, for the local community, definitely, okay? But it's also essential in offering a cheap means for tourists. What if the tourists, they want to pay less for transportation? Many travelers will use some form of public transport to get from the airport to their accommodation. One of the examples, for example, we have the water taxi, like in the Maldives. They use those water taxis to transfer them from the airport to the destination, or Maldives, the islands, okay? Or also by airport express train, like in Hong Kong. People, they would love to use the public coach services, such as the Sky Bus shuttle bus service in Australia. The last thing is the rapid transit systems. Many destinations now, they use the rapid transit systems. Why? To transport large numbers of people as quickly as possible around city centers. Now, these types of systems, they provide improved accessibility for tourists. Okay? They are here, tourists can use, and also the local residents can use. And the main goal is to reduce overcrowding and traffic congestion. So rapid transit systems. Number one, many destinations use them to transport large numbers of people and as quickly as possible around city centers. These types of systems, what do? They provide improved accessibility for tourists and also local residents. And the main aim to have rapid transit system is to reduce overcrowding and traffic congestions.